Focus on the process, not the praise. Not the likes, not the wins, not the race. Don't stress what I can't control.
What nobody tells you before your first big tattoo. If you're thinking about getting your first big tattoo, maybe a full sleeve, a full leg, a chest piece, or even a full back piece, there are something you need to know before you start. Because a big tattoo can become one of the best decisions of your life. But if you start the wrong way, it can become a very expensive mistake. And sometimes a mistake that is very difficult to fix. And I will not only talk about choosing a bad tattoo artist. There are other things that almost nobody talking about. The time, the pain, the healing, the money, the design process, and sometimes very important, what happens in your mind during a long tattoo project. I've been working as a tattoo artist for more than 10 years. During these times, I have worked with many different clients. I have created many large realistic tattoos projects. I have competed in tattoo conventions. I have won awards, but more importantly, I have learned many lessons. Some lessons come from good experience, and some lessons come from mistakes. Today, I want to share these lessons with you. Because if you are planning your first big tattoo, I want you to understand what the process healing looks like. And stay with me until the end, because later in this video, I'm going to explain one of the biggest mistakes people make before starting a large tattoo project. And the interesting thing is, these mistakes happens before the first needle even touch the skin. A big tattoo is different. Here is the first thing you need to understand. A big tattoo is not just a small tattoo made bigger. It is a completely different process. When someone's coming to me and says, Washington, I want a full sleeve, I'm not thinking about only one image. I'm thinking about the completely arm. How will the tattoo look from the front? How will it looking from the side and from the back? What happens when the person moves the arm? Where should the main image be? Which areas need more detail and which areas need more space? This is something many people don't think about. A great tattoo should not only looking good in one photo. It needs to looking good on your body from different angles and when you move. I have seen people choosing 5, 6, sometimes even 10 different images and they say, Washington, I love all of this. Can we put everything together? I understand. Sometimes you have many ideas and every idea feels important, but here is the truth. Sometimes more ideas do not create a better tattoo. Sometimes they create a confusion. And this is where experience becomes very important. A good artist sometimes needs to say, this idea is great, but we need to make it simple. Or this image will look better in another position. Or maybe, if we add this element, the complete design may become too busy. That does not mean the artist is trying to control your tattoo. A professional artist should listen to your history, understand your ideas, understand what is important to you. But the artist should also protect the final result. Because you see your tattoo emotionally. The artist needs to see artistically and technically. And for a great tattoo, you need all these things working together. Your body is part of your artwork. It is something most people don't understand before their first big tattoo. The design you see on a phone screen is not the final artwork. Your body is part of the artwork. Two people can bring me same reference image and I may create two completely different designs. Why? Because their bodies are different. Their arms are different. Their muscles structure is different. Their proportions are different. This is especially important in Black and Grey Realism. Imagining a realistic portrait on an arm. If the face is in the wrong position, the shape of the body can change how the face looks. If any important part of the design is placed in the wrong area, the tattoo may look amazing from one angle, but strange from another angle. This is why I spend so much time thinking about composition. Sometimes, the most important work happens before the tattoo session even starts. I look at the body, I study the area, I think about the flow, I think about how the tattoo will move with the body. And sometimes a client arrives with one idea, but after we talk, after I understand the history, and after we study the body together, the project becomes much stronger. This is one of the things I love about custom tattooing. You start with an idea, but with the right process, that idea becomes something made especially for you. Now, I want to ask you something. If you could start one big tattoo project tomorrow, what would you choose? A full sleeve? A full leg? A back piece? Tell me in the comments. I really want to know what kind of tattoo projects people watching this channel dream about. Nobody tell you about the patient. Now we need to talk about something very important. Patience. Everybody talking about pain, but not enough people talk about patience. A large tattoo project can take months, sometimes even longer. It depends on the design, the details, the style, your skin, your healing, your schedule, and the artist's process. And here's something I've seen many times at the beginning. The client is extremely excited. They have been thinking about the tattoo every day. They are looking at the reference. They are imagining the final result. They cannot wait to start. Then the first session happens. They love it. The second session happens. They are still excited. But after some time, they understand something. This is a journey. There are tattoo sessions. There is healing. There is waiting. Then another session. Then more healing, then more waiting. And during this process, you need to trust the plan. I always try to explain this clearly to my clients. Do not judge a large tattoo project when it's only halfway finished. Sometimes one area is very dark, another area is still empty. One section is completely healed, another section is fresh. At that moment, your brain wants to see the finished tattoo, but the project is still being built. Thinking about building a house. You would not walk inside a house during construction, look at the unfinished wall and say, this house is terrible. Of course not. You understand that work is not finished. A large tattoo project is similar. You need patience, you need consistency, and most importantly, you need to trust the process you're choosing before you start. Later in this video, I'm going to explain how to choose the right artist for this journey, because skills is important, of course. But for a large tattoo project, skills is not the only thing that matters. Let's talk about pain. Now, let's talk about the questions everybody asks. How painful is it? The answer is, it depends. Some areas are easier, some areas are much more difficult. The ribs, the inner arm, the knee, the chest, and other sensitive areas can be difficult for many people. But here is something interesting I have learned from working with clients for many years. The fear before the tattoo is often worse than the real experience. People create a movie in their mind. They watching videos online, they read comments, they hear one terrible history from a friend, and before the tattoo even starts, they are already nervous. Then we started tattooing, and many times they look at me and say, oh, I thought it was going to be much worse. But here's what nobody tells you. For a large tattoo, the challenge is not only the pain, it is also the time. Sitting for a long tattoo session needs physical preparation, but it also needs mental preparation. The first hours may feel easier, but after several hours, your body becomes tired. Your mind can become tired too, and this is normal. So, here is some simple advice. Before your tattoo session, sleep well, eat a good meal, drink enough water, do not arrive tired, and please, do not arrive after a night of partying. And remember this, being strong does not mean ignore your body. Communication with your tattoo artist is important. A professional tattoo session should be serious, but you should also feel safe and comfortable. You are not competing with anybody. Your goal is not to prove how strong you are. Your goal is to complete the best tattoo possible. And that is a very different mindset. The healing is part of the tattoo. The healing is part of the tattoo. The next point is extremely important. Your tattoo does not finish when you leave the studio. The healing process is part of the final result. I can do my best working in the studio. I can spend hours working on the details, the contrast, the texture, the small transactions. But after you leave, you also have a responsibility. And I have seen something interesting over the years. Some people spend months choosing an artist. They spend a lot of money on a tattoo. They sit for many hours during the session, and then they become careless during the healing process. Think about that. You invest time, money, energy, and trust into something that will stay on your body for many years. The healing period deserves respect too. Follow the aftercare instructions from your artist. Keep the tattoo clean. Do not create your own healing method because someone on the internet says something different. Be careful with the sun. Be careful with the swimming. Be careful with the dirty environment. And most importantly, if you have a question, ask your tattoo artist. I always want my clients to communicate with me during the healing. If something looks strange, send me a photo. If you are confused, ask me. I would rather answer a question than have a client worrying at home or make a bad decision because of advice from random person online. For me, the relationship with my clients does not finish when they leave the studio. And when you are choosing an artist for a large project, pay attention to this. How do they communicate? Do they explain the process? Do they answer your question? Do you feel comfortable talking to them? Because remember, for a big project, you may spend many hours together. And that brings us to something most people underestimate. You are choosing more than an artist. For a small tattoo, you may spend 1 or 2 hours with an artist. But for a large project, you may spend many full days together. Think about that. You trust this person with your skin, your history, your money, your time, and something permanent. This is why I believe trust is so important. I have had clients share very personal histories with me. Histories about loss, success, difficult moments, and new beginnings. Sometimes a tattoo looks like a lion to everybody else, but for the client, that lion represents something much deeper. Sometimes a portrait is not just a portrait. It represents someone they love, someone they lost, someone they never want to forget. As an artist, I respected that responsibility. After more than 12 years in this profession, one of the biggest lessons I have learned is this. We are not only put image on skin. We are participating in an important moment of people's life. That is why I take the consultation and planning process serious. Before a big tattoo project, you should feel that your artist understands what you want. You do not need to become best friends. But there should be good communication, respect, professionalism, and trust. If something feels wrong during the consultation, pay attention to that feeling. A big tattoo is a long journey. Choose someone whose working you respect, but also someone whose process you trust. Don't choose any artist only because they are popular. Now I want to share something that may save you from a very expensive mistake. Social media is powerful. I use social media. You probably find this video because of social media. But a large number of followers does not automatically mean someone is the right artist for your project. And one beautiful photo is not enough. When you research an artist, look deeper. Look at the consistency. Can they create quality work again and again and again? Look at the main style. If you want a black and gray realism, study the black and gray realism work. Look at the details, look at the composition, look at the contrast, look at the portraits, look at the texture, look at how the different elements connect. And when it's possible, look at the healed tattoo too. I believe specialization is very important. In my own career, I decided to focus deeply on realism, black and gray, and color realism. Become the main direction of my work. That decision changed my career. It helped me improve. It helped me understand the style at a deep level. It helped me compete in a tattoo conventions and win awards. But for a client, the rewards are not most important thing. The important thing is what years of repetition teaching an artist, you start to understand the small details, how certain images work on skin, how the contrast affects the tattoo, how compositions work on different bodies, which details are important and which details may not work well over time. So, my advice is simple. Choose an artist because on the project you want. Do not choose someone only because they are popular. Choose them because their work is constantly close to what you want on your own body. And if this video is helping you, take 1 second and leave a like. If it helped this channel research more people who wants to make better decisions before getting a tattoo. Your first idea may change. This surprised many people. You may arrive at the consultation with one idea and leave with a better one. That does not mean your first idea was bad. It means collaborations can improve it. For example, maybe you want a portrait, a clock, a lion, some rose, a Greek statue, smokes, and some letterings, all on the same arm. I understand every element maybe is important for you, but here is the question. Will all these elements create one powerful history? Or will they complete with each other? This is where a professional artist should help you. Sometimes, removing one element makes the complete tattoo stronger. Sometimes, changing the position of the main image changes everything. Sometimes, more empty space makes the important part more powerful. One lesson I learned after many years creating large tattoo projects is this. More detail does not always mean better art. Sometimes simplicity creates more impact. And now we arrived at the big mistake I mentioned at the beginning, the mistake that happens before the tattoo even starts. The biggest mistake is starting without a future plan. One of the biggest mistakes people make with their first large tattoo is thinking only about the first tattoo session. They think, I want this tattoo here, but they don't ask, what happens next? Maybe today you only want the upper arm tattooed, but what if you want a full sleeve 2 years from now? Maybe today you want one large tattoo on your leg. But what if you want to continue the project later? This matters because the first tattoo can create opportunities for the future or create limitations. I have seen people who wanted to build a full sleeve, but the existing tattoos made the composition much more difficult. This does not mean every tattoo needs to become a full sleeve. But before placing a large tattoo, think about your future possibilities. Ask yourself, could I want to continue this project later? Could this become a full sleeve? Could this connect to my chest? Could this become a full leg? Even if your answer today is I don't know, there is useful information. A good artist can think about placement and protect your options for the future. This is one of the lessons that many people understand only after they already have several tattoos. So, if this is your first big project, you already know something that many people learn too late. Cheap can become very expensive. We need to talk about money because avoiding this conversation does not help anyone. High quality, large tattoos are an investment. There is the artist's time, there is years of experience, the design process, the equipment, the studio, the preparation, the tattoo session, and the aftercare process. I understand that budget is important. Everybody has different financial situations, but when we're talking about something permanent, make a decision only because one artist is cheaper can become very expensive later. Fixing a bad tattoo is difficult. Sometimes it needs laser sessions, sometimes it needs a cover-up, and sometimes The original idea cannot be saved in the way the person imagined. So my advice is simple. If the artist you really trust is outside your budget today, wait may be better than rushing. Save money, research, plan, prepare. Your skin will still be there in 6 months, but a rushed decision can stay there for the rest of your life. I have always believed that quality is more important than speed. And I think clients should have the same mindset. You do not need the most expensive tattoo artist in the world. You need the right artist for your project. There is a big difference. Feeling nervous is normal. I want to talk directly to the person watching this who has never had a big tattoo. Maybe you have been thinking about it for years. You have a folder full of reference images. You follow tattoo artists. You imagining the tattoo on your body, but something is stopping you. Maybe you are afraid of the pain. Maybe you are afraid of choosing the wrong design. Maybe you are afraid of regret. Maybe you don't know who to trust. I understand these concerns, and I actually think some fear can be useful. Fear can make you research. It can make you asking questions. It can make you think carefully. The problem is when the fear keeps you confused forever. You do not need to rush, but you also do not need to know everything before talking to an artist. A good consultation should give you clarity. You can ask questions. You can talk about your ideas. You can understand the process, and you can decide if the artist is right for you. The best tattoo decisions normally come from two things: excitement and patience. Excitement gives you the courage to start. Patience helps you start the right way. What I would do today. If I were getting my first big tattoo today, knowing everything I have learned in more than 12 years in this industry, I would do 5 things. First, I would choose the general style I want. Not every small details, the style. Black and Grey Realism, Color Realism, Traditional, Fine Line, Japanese. First, choosing the direction. Second, I would find an artist who really specializes in that style. I would study more than one photo. I would look at their completely portfolio. Third, I would think about the future. Is this one tattoo, or could I want to continue the project later? Fourth, I would have a real conversation with the artist. I would ask him about the process, the session, the design, the healing, and the timeline. And fifth, I would choose trust over pressure. I would never start because someone was pushing me to booking quick. I would start when I felt confident about the artist, the idea, and the process. A big tattoo should be exciting, of course. You may feel nervous, but underneath those nerves, there should be trust. A big tattoo is more than one day in a tattoo studio. It is an idea that can stay with you for the rest of your life. It's become part of your image, part of your history, and sometimes part of the way you see yourself. That is why I always tell people, take your time before you start. But once you find the right direction, the right artist, and the right process, enjoy the journey. I've been tattooing for more than 12 years, and even today, I still feel something special when a large tattoo project is finally complete. Because I remember the first conversation, the first idea, the first session, the difficult areas, the healing, the waiting, and then finally the clients look in the mirror and see the complete piece. That moment is powerful, and that is one of the reasons I still love what I do. If you are planning your first big tattoo, tell me in the comments what project you are thinking about. A sleeve, a full leg, a back piece, a chest project. I'll read the comments, and your question can become topics for future videos. If this video helped you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, because every week I share honest information to help you make better tattoo decisions. And watch the next video here on this channel, because choosing your tattoo is only one part of the process. Choosing the person you trust with your skin may be even more important. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers!
Focus on the process, not the praise. Not the likes, not the wins, not the race. Don't stress what I can't control.